Hello and welcome to today's Delta Credit Tip. So you just went to your insurance provider to get your new quote for your brand new car and you're wondering, why is my rate so high? I haven't had any accidents, I don't have any tickets, and from what I understand, there isn't a whole lot of insurance fraud in my neighborhood. Why are my quotes so high? Could be your credit. Is your credit messing up your insurance rate? Stay tuned, we'll figure it out on today's Delta Credit Tip. Hello and welcome back to today's Delta Credit Tip. So you just got back from getting your insurance quote and it is astronomically high despite your perfect driving record, and you don't understand why. Well, a lot of times what you'll find is that it could be your credit. Most people don't realize that your insurance rates are more often than not credit score driven. Now, don't forget, there is a lot of credit bureaus out there, not just Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. And so we're going to go into how your credit can actually affect your insurance rates. And hopefully this information will be very helpful to you. If so, give us that thumbs up. Don't forget, subscribe and hit that bell below so that every Thursday as we come out with more information about you and your credit restoration process, that you get this information as we come up with it and you get it immediately. Okay, so let's talk about this insurance that's affected by your credit. Okay, so again, let's go back to the idea that there are hordes of bureaus out there. And remember, you're not the customer of the bureau. You're the natural resource. They buy and sell your information because companies want this information. Again, your credit score isn't for you, it's for them, right? So companies, there's A+, that's run by Verisk. There's Clue Incorporated, like CLUE Incorporated, that is run by LexisNexis. There's also the Insurance Information Exchange, or it's like IIX, right? These are bureaus specifically designed to start talking about a mixture of your payment history as well as your claim history. Right? Insurance claim history. And they put all this stuff together and they sell it to your Geicos, your Farmers, your Progressives, your State Farms, etc. Okay, so let's talk about this. Now, the thing about those companies and states that allow your insurance to be score driven, okay, it's not 100% just based on credit, obviously. Right? Now, it may be 100% based on what's in your credit report, but it's not in the traditional sense 100% score driven. Now, having bad credit can influence your score as much as 200% in the negative. In other words, it can increase your premiums by over 200% by having bad credit in certain states like New Jersey. Okay, you got bad credit there, it's going to really skyrocket your rates. But on the converse, having good credit doesn't have that same kind of impact. So depending on the type of company and how much they use your credit score as a driver for how much your premium will dictate, how much of an effect it has. So for instance, Geico, they're hovering right around 25%. So if you have good credit with them, you can save yourself as much as 25%, right? If you start looking at Progressive, you can save about 43%. Allstate and State Farm, you can save about 44, 45%. And when you come to Farmers, it's over 50% that you can save by having good credit. Of course, now again, bad credit will get you as much as a 200% increase, but good credit can decrease you by as much as 54% with Farmers. Okay, so if you are looking at a new policy and your credit scores aren't quite where they need to be, you may want to pick which insurance company uses these credit scores, either more or less, depending on really what your credit scores are, right? But again, a lot more is going to go into your rate than just the credit score, right? There's also driving history. There's also where you live and your age and all. There's a lot of factors, right? But I am not an insurance person. I am a credit person, right? I'm a financial advisor. So what we're gonna do, go on a field trip, hop in a hoopty, and we are gonna go talk to an insurance agent and get the skinny on these fat premiums. Okay, so I'm here with our friend Michelle Mosier of South Shore Insurance Professionals. Michelle.
Michael.
We're trying to figure this out. They're trying to say that because I got bad credit, that they're going to charge me more money for my insurance. I don't understand. Why are they doing this?
Well, that's kind of true. In Florida, specifically, since that's where we are, insurance score is a factor. Credit plays a huge factor in insurance score. So people that have less than perfect credit do pay more than people who have perfect credit. Or if you think of it kind of on a sliding scale, the better your credit is, the better your rate is. I don't know if anybody has perfect credit. The worse your credit is, the higher your rate is going to be. And that's just based on the insurance score models for propensity to file a claim. So actuaries have determined that people with lower credit scores have a higher propensity of possibly filing a claim, whether it's a maintenance issue or a lack of care of a vehicle or driving habits or things like that, all kind of come into play with their thoughts on lower credit equals higher risk equals more premium.
So really it's not that they don't think you're going to get in an accident, just that you're going to actually file a claim.
That you could potentially file a claim, right.
Well, that I guess makes more sense because obviously if financially you're not doing well, little things start to add up on the car and it has a kind of an effect on the car and you could either A, get into an accident faster or B, have a higher claim because of repairs.
You got it.
Okay. And actually when they're pulling your report, now they're not pulling Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, right? They're pulling an
insurance score, which is different than a credit score. It takes in all kinds of components. It takes in credit, it takes in your prior insurance history, what kind of prior limits you had. There's a multitude of things that no particular insurance company would give you, like every criteria that they use to try to figure that secret sauce out.
Right.
But there's a lot of factors that go into that and get you that insurance score that then dictates what your rate is going to be. But credit is a big driver of that score in every state except for 3.
Okay. So the thing is for any individual, that insurance is what we call one of those negotiable items that we have to have in the budget. We need to have insurance, but it's negotiable how much we pay for it.
It's kind of a non-negotiable to have it,
right? But
if you want to drive,
right.
I mean, you could Uber everywhere.
You could, maybe not as practical, but the Uber people will be happy for it.
Pretty expensive.
Yeah. But we have to have it.
You do.
So, and it's going to take us a while sometimes to fix our credit.
Okay.
So, in the meantime, we're going to be faced with a higher premium because of the credit. Well, what else can we do to offset maybe the cost that we're going to end up having to pay?
So your auto insurance premium is made up of all the different coverages that you choose. Whether you have bodily injury coverage, which is an option in the state of Florida. You don't have to have bodily injury coverage to get a license plate on your car to be able to drive. We don't recommend that you drive without bodily injury coverage because if you do damage to someone and you don't have any coverage, they can sue you for that. And you're already trying to get out of some sort of a credit issue. We don't want to add to that. We don't like to recommend that people lower their limits, but our feeling is that something's going to be better than nothing. So if all you can do is the minimum limits that are available to you, which would be 10, 20 in the state of Florida, that's what you purchase. And maybe you stair step as things get better and you look to increase the limits as you go along. I know one of your big goals is helping people establish their credit enough to be able to qualify for a decent mortgage. We want homeowners to be properly protected. So when homeowners come to us and they have 10, 20 limits, we're looking to see what we can do to step them up to different limits, especially as they're adding youthful drivers and things like that. We want them to be financially protected so they don't get themselves back to your office again, although that would probably be good for you. But they can stair step that. Every 6 months or every year, we can look at, okay, so how much more is it if I go to the next level? Of course, the vehicle that they drive is
It's
a
big
huge component, and
The red sports car versus the blue sedan.
color doesn't matter. But the sedan versus the sports car, the zip code where they live could make a big difference. If they live, for example, here locally, if they live inside the city limits of Tampa versus like our unincorporated area, it's a little bit more expensive in some zip codes in Tampa proper than it is in the county. So that's always a factor if they're looking to move. We have clients who have moved from one zip code to another. It's made a huge impact in their auto insurance.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Whether it's for the positive or the negative.
Right.
I always suggest that somebody who's really concerned about their rate and about their coverages, that they have a relationship with an independent insurance agency so that they can make those kinds of phone calls and say, hey, I'm looking to move to this address. Can you tell me before I commit,
right,
what kind of an effect is that going to have on my auto insurance? Because it makes a difference when you change your garaging address.
Right. Now that you brought that idea up of having an agent to actually help you do this shopping. I'm a credit guy. I don't know insurance. I'm good at what I do, but I'm not good at shopping for insurance. But why would I do that versus just go with the big namers? There's Geico, there's Progressive. Everybody knows them. They're safe. They pay their claims, I guess, on time.
Absolutely.
But why would I opt to potentially go with a smaller firm or an unknown firm through an agent versus the big guys like the Geicos and the Progressives?
Well, I think there's a couple reasons. So you get online or you call a 1-800 number to get a quote from Geico or Progressive, you're only getting a quote from Geico or Progressive, and you're only getting what that call center representative might be talking to you about. When you come to a local agency or call a local agency or go to our website, you're getting somebody who is really kind of a personal shopper for you for your insurance. We specifically write auto insurance with 9 different companies. So we can quote everybody and kind of take a look at what might be your best option. Geico's only going to give you a Geico price. I'm going to give you a price for Progressive and Infinity and Travelers and Bristol West and Foremost and all of our available companies that fit in your market. The other part of that is maybe you haven't heard of those companies, but a lot of them work directly with their agents for us to be able to say, hey, here's this company that you might not see on primetime TV advertising, but they're a $1 billion company. They're based in California. They don't write in every single state, which is maybe why you've never heard of them. But we've got a great working relationship with them, and here's who they are. But you can't just necessarily find them to get a quote. The other part of that is working with somebody like me is that every 6 months, all you have to do, or every year, depending on what kind of a policy you choose, is you give us a call and everything's in our system and we hit a button and we re-rate everything versus you having to key all that information back in every time. And you get somebody to have a conversation with.
Right, I think that's important. When you're in a crisis situation and you need somebody to call, it's a holiday or close to a holiday, or maybe a hurricane just came through, it's nice to have somebody on the other end. And whatever your charges are, you're probably going to save them more than what your competitor would charge.
Well, it's funny you say that because we don't charge a fee. So an independent insurance agent in the state of Florida is not fee-based. We don't charge fees. We're paid a commission by the carrier for any policy we might sell. And typically those commissions are all the same. I know the first thing people are going to think is, well, you just sell the one where you make the most money. There's probably agencies out there that do that. We show every rate that we get back and let you choose. Here's what we have. Here's our offering. Here's what we would recommend. Typically on auto insurance, from a recommendation standpoint, it's price driven, especially if there's credit issues, because that's our goal is to help them reach their goals.
Right.
So, if they can't pay $400 a month for auto insurance, they could have Mac Daddy coverage, but if they're not going to pay for it, I don't want to do that to them.
Right.
That conversation a lot is I want you to have as much protection as you can afford to buy.
Right.
But if you can only afford the state minimums and that's where you are in your financial picture right now, that's okay. That doesn't mean that you should keep that forever, probably, because as that financial picture improves, then you need to protect yourself more.
Right.
When you're looking at auto insurance, you're looking at it as a financial protection tool. You want to make sure that if something happens on our roads and you're the cause of that, that nobody's coming after you personally to make up the difference in the coverages.
Right, it's financial safety net.
Right. So sometimes I'll talk to people about like just one level of coverage difference might be, I don't know, maybe it's $15 a month, whatever it might happen to be. Maybe it's worth it because you're doubling your coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Or I've had the reverse phone calls. Well, I really need to save more money. So how much is it if I just drop my coverage?
Mm-hmm.
It's like $8 a month. So I don't know, is that worth it?
Right.
Online, you can make that change.
Right.
On the phone to somebody who doesn't know you, you can make that change. I'm probably going to have a conversation with you. We may make that change at the end of the conversation, but I'm going to talk you through all of those
pros
options.
And cons and the options. Yeah, because you're the professional in the industry and you can kind of help them make that decision.
I have a girlfriend of mine who lives in Orlando, bought a vehicle, has a Geico insurance policy. We're working on fixing that. But she had a claim. And she logged into her Geico site and she said, how come it says I don't have comprehensive or collision here? Can you help me with that? Well, she made her change online and she doesn't do insurance.
So she didn't realize
She didn't know that she didn't select the right coverages. So if you don't know what you're doing, it could be one of the biggest financial mistakes you ever make.
Yeah, because you won't
trying
know
to
until
purchase
you need
coverage
it.
online. Right.
Exactly.
My networking pseudo tagline is it doesn't matter until it matters.
Right.
And when it matters, it's too late.
Right.
You know, last week when Dorian was coming and people were calling me to see what they could do different, I said, like, I tell you guys all the time, it doesn't matter until it matters.
Exactly.
And right now it matters because I'm on lockdown. I can't change anything.
Right.
So hopefully you listened to all those years of telling you, you know, check your stuff, make sure you're ready.
Right.
Because when it matters,
It does.
it does.
Awesome.
And you can't, nobody plans to go out and get in a car accident, but I see them every single day.
Yeah.
So.
Great. Well, hopefully this information helped in trying to figure out why the insurance behaves the way it does and maybe how to be prepared, and maybe it's a good idea to get that agent, that professional to help you out, like Michelle Mosher of
Awesome.
the South Shore Insurance Professionals. And hopefully this will help you make a choice, make a change, Delta.